So welcome to How to Manage Your Time Better with monday.com. Um, this is a themed webinar, and I really want to thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Shelly, and I'm a customer success manager here at monday.com, and I'm super excited to be here today with you guys. So before we get started, I would like to talk a little bit about what is time management exactly. So time management is the process of planning and exercising Sorry? Okay, great. So time management is the process of planning and exercising conscious control of time spent on specific activities, especially to increase effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity. It involves a juggling act of various demands upon a person relating to work, social life, family, hobbies, personal interests, and commitments with the fintings of time. So let's break that down into what that means practically. Time management is not about how much time you have. It's about how effectively you manage it, and it's not just about achieving and going after goals. It's also about the quality of life and understanding that balance is the key. My slide is not moving. Thank you, Valerie. Now it will be moving. Great. So the struggle of time management. Most of us, and specifically the ones who chose to join this webinar today, are feeling exhausted, feeling overloaded, working late to hit the deadlines. We feel anxiety. We feel that we don't have time to do anything that we need to do. We feel like we always forget something, but we don't know exactly what, and we feel swamped. And it's just like dealing with crisis after crisis. And we all struggle with how to organize and manage our day-to-day. We find ourselves often working beyond regular hours, weekends, and trying to figure out how to reach our goals and get everything done with the limited time that we have. However, despite many people might think, this is not how much time. The issue is not how much time you actually have. Lack of time is not the root cause of your problem, but rather how effectively you manage the time you have. There are several time management techniques that can help you dramatically boost your productivity. But in our session today, we will cover 3 important time management theories. And more importantly, we're going to learn how we can put those into practice by taking advantage of monday.com's amazing features to more effectively manage your day-to-day and your time. So where do we go from here? Like I said, today we're going to learn how to manage your time using 3 different methods. As I mentioned, there are hundreds of time management methods and theories, but we're going to focus on my 3 favorites. We're going to speak about the theory behind each of these methods, and then we're going to see how they can be implemented within monday.com. The methods we're going to use today are the Eisenhower matrix, time blocking, and Eat That Frog, that is also known as MITs. We will then leave plenty of time for Q&A. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A button throughout our session. If you have any questions, please make sure to put them there. That will be the best way for me to keep track of those. So instead of putting them in the chat, we're going to have all of them in the Q&A section. Okay. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first method we're going to be focusing on is the Eisenhower matrix. The Eisenhower matrix is also known as the Eisenhower principle, and it is a method of prioritizing your tasks on the basis of their urgency. It helps to determine the activities which are important to the ones which we do not deserve your time or attention at all. So prioritizing your tasks by urgency and importance results in 4 quadrants with different work strategies. The first one will be your urgent and important tasks. The second one will be not so urgent tasks, but still important. The third one will be urgent but non-important tasks. And the fourth one will be non-urgent and non-important tasks. So as I said, the first quadrant is do first. This is our tasks that are important for your life and career, and you need to get done today or tomorrow at least. The second quadrant, we call it schedule, because there are tasks that are important but less urgent to you. So you should list those tasks So you should do those tasks that you need to do in your calendar, and this is the quadrant you'll be most focused on. The third quadrant we have is delegate. These are tasks that you should delegate as they are less important to you than others, but still pretty urgent. You should keep track of those tasks using the update section, the status column, or our automations, and we're going to cover those in a sec. And the fourth quadrant, and the final one, is here to help you sort out the things that you should not be doing at all. This quadrant is also there to help you discover and stop bad habits, which give you an excuse to not deal with the important tasks that you have in your first and second quadrant. Okay, great. So now that we have a basic understanding of the matrix, let's see how this can be implemented into monday.com. This method I'm going to show in two examples that are based on the same use case. And for my use case here, let's say that I am an event planner and I have an event, the 2020 company's event. This event is taking place abroad, so there's a lot to do and I'm super swamped. And yeah, let's see how I can manage it. Okay, great. So you can see I have here just one group for all of my tasks. I also have here, but I can also group my tasks in a different order by a range of date, location, department, and so on and so forth. And after I've listed my tasks, I can go ahead and just decide how I can, to which quadrant they are related to via the status column that I've renamed to urgent and importance. So you can see I have here all my quadrants. I have my do first, schedule, delegate, and don't do. So I can just go ahead and assign the quadrant. And you see that when I click on delegate, it changed and assigned this task to Ariel for my team. This way, Ariel knows that that this task was dedicated to him, and I can also track its progress. This saves me a lot of time to make sure that my team members are aware of their tasks. And if you don't know how our automations work, just to make sure we're all on the same page, our automations allows you to use an event inside monday.com, like a changing of a status to trigger an action, like sending a notification. This is done by using predefined automation flows, which we have created for you and to choose from. So that's great. And now you can really see that I know my quadrant and I know which tasks are most important and which ones are less. But in all that mess, it's very hard to get everything done, and in all this clutter, I'm not really achieving my goal. And I want to only be able to see what falls under quadrant, the first quadrant, the second, and just to focus on that. So in order to do that, I'm going to use our advanced board filters, and I'm going to filter my board by the Eisenhower's status labels that I've pre-created here. And then I can just save it as a filter view. So to do so, I'm going to click on this triangle, filter by everything, and I'm just going to choose my status label. Do first, and I'm going to save it as a view. And I can then rename it. This will be my first quadrant. Amazing. And I'll go back to my main table, and I can also do that for each of my others quadrants. So schedule is the second one. And this will be saved as a view. Amazing, and so on and so forth. So this is great, and then I can toggle between my main table and between my quadrants. And this has really helped me, and this is really helpful in seeing what I need to do and what I need to focus on. It's an important thing for me to state out is that this is just a visual way for you to see the boards and not really a board within a board. So the board's view and so on and so forth will not be on. I'm just checking what the background noise is. Okay, I think we just got that. Can you hear only me? Okay, amazing. Okay, amazing. So let's get back to our Eisenhower matrix. Just an important thing that I wanted to tell you guys is that this that these filtered view that I saved are just a filtered view and a very visual way for you guys to see the boards and see everything that's important for you, but they're not really a board within a board. So our boards views or dashboards will not be applied to them. Okay, great. Just to make sure we're all aligned, I actually went ahead, sorry, okay. Okay, I actually went ahead and pre-made the board and actually pre-made these coordinates that we want to see. So we have Q1, we have Q2, Q3, and so on and so forth. And you can see that my my third Q has Ariel assigned and not myself via the automation, Q4, and so on. I've also gone ahead and pre-made this chart view just to help me see at a glance the percentage of tasks that in each quadrant, just so I'll know how many important tasks that I have, how many tasks I have scheduled to see my workload and just be on top of everything. So this is our chart view, and for those of you who don't know it, it's a great way to visualize and report your workflow and get important insight. You can see all your team members and how they're performing, how fast your tasks are getting down, how they change over time, and more. So this is great. You can actually toggle between a pie, bar, line, or stacked bar. You can choose if you want to see a status label or something else. Okay, great. So this is a great way to view these, but let's say that I don't really want to see the tasks that are already done in my task list. So I'm going to use another automation for that. For this example, I'm going to use my status change automation. This way, when a task is done, it will automatically be moved to the done group. So for instance, this is done, this is now done. It will be automatically moved to my done group. And that way I can have a sense of relief seeing my task list getting smaller and smaller and just have my tasks board much more organized. And this is my automation center. I just want to show you two more automations that I have. So I have, the first one is when the Eisenhauer metrics status labels are changed to delegate Zain Ariel for my team as the person, just to make sure that he knows and he's aware of his tasks. Then I have when a status changes to done, move it to group done. And you can see here, I also have two due date reminders, because as I mentioned before, on the delegated tasks, you should keep track of those. You should keep an eye on them, and you just need to make sure that you know everything that's going on. So I've created these automations that just 2 days before due date arrives and the status is delegate, notify, hey, check how this item is doing with the item's owner, as the status is, and it will just extract the information and I will be notified, and then I can just keep track of those delegated tasks that are urgent but are less important to myself. Okay, great. So there's another way to use the Eisenhauer metrics in your monday.com account, and I'd like to show you. And this is based on the same features, only the board is built in a different way. So here I actually have 5 groups. I have my main task groups. And then I have my four quadrants already assigned and already very visualized, and I can see them in a very visual way on my board. And now I'm going to use the same automations in a different way. So I'm actually going to create 4 different status change automations that when the status of a task, the Eisenhauer status label changes to don't do, it will move to the group Q4, as this is the status label that relates to Q4. And with the same thing we've delegated to Q3, scheduled and due first. And every time the urgent or important column will be changed, the task will be moved to the designated group. This way, you can just see everything you have going on at a glance in a very organized way. You can see here, I also made my chart view, so I can actually have the same view, and that's great. And as you can see, in both of my boards, I've used quite the same features, but got a different board structure. And that's really one of the great things about monday.com. It's completely customizable and can be suited exactly for your needs. And an important thing for me just to state out at this point is there is no right way or best way to build your boards. The best way is the way that works best for you. Okay, great. I can see some of you are writing questions in the chat box. We will leave plenty of time for questions. Just please make sure to put them in the Q&A box. This will be the best way for me to keep track of those. Okay, so after we learned about the Eisenhower matrix, let's go back and jump to our other methods. But before that, I would like to give you some tips about how to work with the Eisenhower matrix. So the first tip I can give you is just always question what is worth doing first when making a to-do list. And the second one is try limiting yourself to no more than 8 tasks per quadrant. Before adding another one, complete the most important one first. The third tip I can give you is just you should always maintain only one list of both business and private tasks. That way you will be able to spend time with your family or do something for yourself. Having these tasks as a part of your task list will assure that. And the fourth and the final tip I can give you right now is do not let you or others distract you. Do not let others define your priority. Plan in the morning, then work according to this plan. And in the end, enjoy the feeling of completion. Okay, great. So the second method we'll be covering is time blocking. Time blocking is the practice of planning out every moment of your day in advance and dedicating specific time blocks for certain tasks and responsibilities. The simple reason why time blocking works is that it's designed for focus. The human brain needs a guardian at work. Otherwise, we fall into what's known as the Parkinson law. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. What's a modern translation of this concept? Here's one example. If you give yourself 3 days to do a project, it will take you a full 3 days. By scheduling every minute of your day, you're not only guarded against distractions, but you also multiply your focus. Now I would like to say that time blocking will never work if you're overly optimistic about your time. You still have emails to answer, calls to take, and meetings to attend. However, the power of time blocking comes in choosing when you do these tasks instead of letting them infiltrate every moment in your day. So the first step of time blocking is planning in advance, meaning planning week by week in advance. In order to do that, we need to start with our high-level priorities, the big tasks that we have coming up this week and the regular tasks that we have to do on a day-to-day basis, like lunch and workout. It's important to also block these. The second step is to create a book template of your work week and day. Create a template of the basic work, shallow tasks that you have going on, as well as the meaningful work that you have, and the small tasks that you need to do, like checking your email and so on. Make sure you give yourself some spare time, meaning if your lunch is at 1, make sure your next task doesn't start before 1:15 or 1:30, just to give yourself some leeway. And the third and final step is to make sure you really do leave time for your breaks and unpredicted tasks that come your way. Okay, so now that we have just a basic understanding of what time blocking is, let's see how we can implement it in monday.com. For this example, my use case is a marketing scheduled board. Let's say I work for an advertising firm and I manage our social media schedule from A to Z for all of our big business clients. This is a very hard schedule to maintain, and I have to make sure that not everything is on track and that I'm not missing any deadlines. So I'll go back to my Monday account and I'll open my social media board. So I actually have a social media iteration board. The way that I work is by iteration. So in this board, each group is a week. You can see I have this week, I have next week, and the following, and so on and so forth. And under each group, each row that I have, each item that I have is actually a task that I need to complete during this week. You can see that at the bottom of my board, I have a template group. So this template group is a generic group that I can duplicate each week and start assigning tasks. I know I want to work out at least 3 times a week. So I need to block time for it. And I know I need to also block time for my lunches as well. So this is just a generic template, and I can then actually go ahead and add tasks to it after I duplicate it. Okay, great. So you can see here I have this week, and I have things to do. And I have things to do. Now, time blocking works best on a calendar. Blocks of times, so make sure you're giving each task blocks of time. So make sure you give each task a date and a time, and a time estimation. And this time estimation is based on a numbers column that we have. This is just a date column that we have just for you to make sure that you know where you're working on. So you can actually then integrate your monday.com account to your calendar. I'm using Google Calendar, and I've pre-made the link, but I would like to show you how to create it. You simply click on this little arrow, go to column settings, and then you can sync it with your Google Calendar or other calendars. I've already pre-made this sync, so I want to show you the way that it looks when you sync it to your calendar. It extracts the tasks in a 1 hour block of time, and you can then just go ahead and adjust them to the real time they take. You can see that I actually have here some gaps of times that are pre-made and predefined, just to give myself some leeway and to make sure that I'm not rushing myself and I'm not being over optimistic with my time. So I know I want to work out at between 7 and 8 a.m. and I need already at 9 a.m. to be at the office, and I'm leaving myself a little bit of leeway just to get to the office, to have breakfast. I don't want to over push myself, because then I will just not meet my goals and just become much frustrated. I would like to say at this point that time blocking is my favorite time managing method, and this is the way that I actually work. And it's super, super important to give yourself this spare time and this a bit of time just to really know what's going on. So you can just readjust it, and you can actually change the colors of it and so on and so forth, and it will not be changed on monday.com. Amazing. Another way you can actually see that is using our calendar view. You remember I showed you our charts view, so we also have a calendar view. In here, also we'll see the tasks in a block of time, but that's a very good way just for me to review and see everything that I have going on. I can then just click on a task right here and open the card view of the task and just see at a glance where it stands and how long, how is it going, and so on and so forth. So that's a great feature, and I highly recommend just checking that out. Amazing. Again, I will say that the tasks that are created are in a 1 hour block. So you can then either sync it with your calendar and revise the time, or just keep that in mind and have the time estimation, as you can see here. If I'm clicking right here, you can see I have my time estimation. So just to make sure that I'm on top of everything and that I know what's going on. Perfect. So you can see I also added a few more columns just to help me get a sense of understanding of the time frames that I have and help me better prepare for the future. So I have here actually our time tracking column that helps me see the actual time spent on each task. Now, and this is a great way, you can either click play and pause to track the time, or you can click at on the tab itself and just add a session. So that's amazing. You don't need to you can do it after the time has passed, just to make sure that you're tracking the time and you know where you stand. And you can see here I also added a formula column. So the formula column I'm adding is to help me see the time estimation, if the time estimation was on point or not. So I have here my time spared or lost just for learning purposes. So you can see this, the formula that I'm using is a very simple formula minus the time estimation, and then time estimation and my actual time. Now, when you're using the time tracking column, it tracks the times in seconds. And if you wish to see it in hours, you can simply divide the time tracking column in 3600, which is 60 seconds per minute, multiplied by 60 minutes per hour, and then it will give you the results in hours. Yeah, so that's great. And I can see that here I was right on time, and I can see here that I need to learn more. And I actually went ahead and created an additional status column just to help me really learn, because about the method of time blocking is just a matter of practice and learning for future purposes. So I just used the simple if function, if the time spared or lost is greater or equal to 0, then I'm on time. And if not, I need to learn for the future. Okay, great. Another cool feature I'd like to show you is our time tracking automation. So we actually have an automation that's based on the status of the tasks, and it can just start and stop the time tracking. So you don't need to actually do that manually. And I'll go right here and the status change automation. I'll show it to you here. So when status changes to something, start time tracking, and when it changes to something else, stop it. So I can choose when status changes to working on, start the time tracking, and when status changes to done, stop it. Adding it to the board, and then I don't actually need to click on play and pause or to add a session. I can simply choose working on it. It will start, tracking the time, and done will just make it stop, and I can see the time tracked. So that's a great feature. Amazing. Okay, and keep in mind that when using time blocking, we want to develop a smart, realistic plan that works towards a more efficient and effective workday. So I would like to give you some tips on how to actually do that. So my first tip is just to schedule your breaks and not just lunch. We're not a machine. Make sure you set aside time throughout the day for a quick stretch or a walk to give your brain and your eyes some rest. The second one is just to overestimate how long things will take, at least at start. Do not be over-optimistic with your day until you have a solid understanding of what you can get done. And the third and final one is just revise if needed. No one works well within a rigid system. Try to be as realistic as possible when you set a schedule, but be prepared to move things around or throw it out for a day if a crisis unfolds. Okay, great. And now we've reached our final time management method, which is Eat That Frog or MITs. Okay, so most people have some tasks on their to-dos that they probably want to check off, and that if accomplished would make their day a million times better. And as Mark Twain said, if the first thing you do each morning is to eat a live frog, then you can go through the day with the satisfaction of knowing that that's probably the worst thing that will happen to you all day. Now, I don't recommend going about eating a bunch of frogs. Instead, Eat That Frog is a metaphor that boils down to one concept. Identify one crucial task of the day and do it first. Now you'll see you'll still work on other things, but your most important and often the most challenging tasks that requires the most energy and focus will be prioritized first. So this is actually a time management method that says you should tackle your biggest tasks first thing in the morning. These are your most important tasks, your MITs of the day. Accomplishing those will give you the biggest momentum, to help you sail through the rest of your day. So let's see how this can actually be implemented in monday.com. And my use case here is a restaurant. And I'm actually setting up to open a new restaurant in NYC. And I'm creating a task board to have all my tasks listed out. So for this method, I actually am going to use two boards. You can see here I have my monthly tasks and my MITs. I'm going to actually be using two boards. The first board will be an overview of all the tasks that I have going on during this month and the next month. So we can see my group here is this month and next month. And the second board will be a low-level board that focuses on my MITs. And we're going then to create a connection between those two boards. So I'm actually going to start with my low-level board, my MITs. In this board, each group is an MIT, and most important tasks, and each item, each row, is a subtask that I need to complete in order to complete and accomplish and get my MIT done. You can see that each group, I have a summary of the group, summary item, summary of, and so on. And this will actually become more very important and become handy in my high-level overview board, so just keep that in mind. You can also see that I have here a status column and an additional status column. So the first one just to indicate the priority of my subtasks, and my status column just to see where I stand. And I also have here the timeline column that helps me Hi guys, can you hear me? I think we got a minor, can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, I think we got a minor technical issue. Okay, now we're back. Can you see my board? Just make sure you can see my board. Okay, great. I can see you're all saying, okay, great guys. Thanks for letting me know that you can see my board. Okay, I'm so sorry for that. Okay, great, amazing. Okay, guys, I have to say that in this technical issue, I've lost all your questions. So if you can just put them back in the Q&A box, this would be great. Okay, Gabriela is saying you can hear me, everything is good. So let's just get started from the top. We were at my MIT's board. We just saw that I have here in my MIT board, the groups that I have are my MITs, and the items are my subtasks. I have here a priority column to indicate the priority of these subtasks. I have here my status column to indicate the status of this task. I have here a due date and a timeline just to see a very visual view of those subtasks. Okay, amazing. I also have here, I've also pre-created a due date reminder so that a day before due date arrives and the priority of these subtests is high, I want to be notified. And this will make sure that I won't miss any important deadlines and that I am on top of everything that's going on in my MITs and that know what's going on with them. I've also pre-created my timeline view so I can have a very nice indication of the timeline of each of my MITs. You can see I grouped it by group because each group is an MIT for me. And I can just have a very visual sort of Gantt view, seeing where my tasks are standing and what's going on. I also have here a calendar view, so I can just see what's going on and how I juggle between all my MITs, because as you see, they are all being worked on at the same time. Okay, so that's amazing. Now, that's a great way just to view my MITs in a low level, but these are not the only tasks that I have. These are just my most important ones. And I actually do want to see all the tasks that I have. So this is why I've created my overview, my monthly tasks, my high-level board. And the high-level board, just to make sure we're all aligned and we know what it means, is a type of board that allows you to see an overview of everything you and your team are working on, and it will help you monitor your workflow. The high-level view can represent whatever you choose. So in my case, it represents my restaurant opening monthly tasks. In this board, each group is a month, this month and next month, and each item is a task that I have. And I actually have here a similar board structure to my low-level board, but the cool thing that I want to show you here is how to connect those two boards together. So you can see that my MITs don't have a status or a date to them or a timeline. So I'm actually going to use two columns to reflect this information from my low-level board to my high-level board. And I'll do that using the link to item column which allows me to link items from different boards, and the mirror column that allows me to reflect specific information from this linked item. So let's just see how it works. I'm going to go to my column center and add more column, and I'm going to choose the link to item column, and I'm going to be adding it to my board. It asks me if I want to select a board to link it with, so I'm selecting a board, and as I said, the board I want to choose is my MIT's board. Amazing. And then straight from here, I can go ahead and add the mirror column. So it asks me which columns do I want to see. So I want to see the status of my MIT's tasks, the due dates, and the timeline. Okay, done. Now you see I have this link to item column, and I have these mirrored columns that will be reflected. And these three are my MITs. You can see it here. So I'm just going to choose from each group. I'm going to choose actually the summary group. I'm going to choose the summary group, because this group really shows me the summary of my MIT. And this is why I said it will come in handy shortly. And as you can see, each group does have this summary for it. Amazing. So I can see that my MITs are in progress. I can see their due dates. I can see their timelines, and I can actually have a very nice indication on this one board, and I can just see what my MITs are looking and how they are. I can also actually change information from here, so I can change this to done, and if I go back to my MIT's board to stack, I'm sorry, you'll see it's stuck, or if I want to change it to done, I'll go back to my monthly tasks boards, and you will see that it changed. So the information reflecting here can be edited by me, and that's really great. These are two of my favorites columns, and I highly recommend just checking these out. Okay, and that's an amazing way just to view my tasks list and my most important tasks, and just tackle those first thing in the morning, and going about doing that. I also have here my priority, just to see the priority that I have of my tasks. So to see how many MIT's tasks I have, low priority tasks, and so on. I also have here a calendar view and the timeline view, just to see that I'm on schedule. So yeah, that's great. And I would like to give you some tips on how to use Eat the Frog. So the first tip I want to give you is just maximize your personal power. Identify your periods of highest mental and physical energy each day, and structure your most important and demanding tasks around these times. The second one is just slice and dice the tasks. Break large, complex tasks into bite-sized pieces. And the third one is just single-handle every task. Set priorities and complete before moving on. And a side note I would like to give is that this method also works great with the Eisenhower matrix, which we covered earlier. Okay, guys, so we've covered our 3 time management methods, and so how we can implement them in monday.com. We use the advanced filters, the boards view, various automations, formulas, and learn how we can link 2 boards together and mirror information from one board to the other. And I really want to thank you so much for being with me here today. Yeah, we're here for anything else that you need, and thank you for being here with us. Have a great rest of your day.